Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Thursday, October 19th full board meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order. First order is of business, Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Please check in. Okay, thank you. Item number 4 is the adoption of the agenda dated October 19th as amended to include invocation. Would someone like to make that motion? Move. We're going to keep it the way it is right now. So motion by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Brown. All in favor? Well, sorry, please vote. Even if you're not in favor, you can vote. Great, thank you. Motion passes. Approval of minutes dated September 14, 2017. A motion to approve by Commissioner Sauger, supported by Commissioner Duge. Please vote. Public participation. Item 6, public participation, 5 minutes maximum, limited to items on the agenda today. Please come up, give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Mr. Hunt.
Good afternoon, Macomb County Board of Commissioners. I see that 3 members are absent. Primarily, one of the items on the agenda that I was interested in seeing and addressing is the Great Lakes Water Authority.
Name and address, please.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I usually do that automatically. 8306 Stanley, Warren, Michigan, homeowner and taxpayer Joseph Hunt. Thanks for pointing that out. On the Great Lakes Water Authority, I was against this back in 2014 because Macomb County really didn't have a choice in the matter. And I guess as a result of today's presentations, I'll probably get my questions answered as far as whether or not this is a common to all asset, and more so whether or not that the taxpayers of Macomb County are directly on the hook for the repair. And then I'll just follow up quickly on the Board of Canvassers, the appointments. I'm fully behind the appointments. I know that there's a new name and an existing name. It's chosen by parties according to state law. I feel that the Board of County Canvassers did an excellent job back in November, 2 weeks locally canvassing the election results. That frivolous lawsuit by Jill Stein over at Macomb, and then of course the the recount of Sterling Heights and Utica that ended the election season. But for all practical purposes, my intention is to learn more information about the Great Lakes Water Authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing no other members of the public, we'll move on to number 7, correspondence from the Office of County Executive. We have none. That being said, we'll move to item number 8, presentation, Great Lakes Water Authority, Shelby Township, Maine relocation project overview grant. Would you like to? Yes. Well, receive and file on this one, but support made by Brown. Would anyone like to support this? Commissioner Kleinfeld supports. We can usually do this before or after, but carry on.
No problem. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. This is Grant Gartrell with Great Lakes Water Authority, Director of Engineering for Water Supply Operations. And we'll be talking today about a project that we are just launching in planning phase. So the objectives of the project: this is a 96-inch diameter water transmission main. It provides drinking water to northern Oakland and Macomb counties from our Lake Huron Water Treatment Plant. And a portion of it goes through what's called a former or closed G&H industrial landfill site. And the project is involved with it relocating outside the limits of that landfill. Other objectives of the job are to remove a portion of that main from beneath the Detroit Congressman Sports Club, a shooting range, and then improve reliability and redundancy along a segment of that main between Romeo and what we call our North Service Center, which is at basically M59 and DeQuinder Road. This is a vicinity map, and to your left is north. Okay, so to the far, so on the far left, upper right-hand side of the page, you'll see Romeo. That's roughly 32-mile road. Then it's going to the south to the right of the page, down to where you see that green rectangle. That's the closed G&H industrial landfill. where a segment of our main goes through that landfill, and then continuing south to your right down to our north service center indicated by that circle. That's the general project vicinity, and in order to relocate this main outside of that green rectangle, which is that closed landfill, we're going to be installing some new inline valves that are indicated in the red far north at Romeo, kind of in the middle on 26 Mile Road, a new gate valve in the center of the page, and then another one at what we call our Rochester station, which is at 24 Mile Road between DeQuinder and Ryan, and then to the south at North Service Center, we'll have another valve. It's just, there's the general geography for you. So where we're at, like I said, we're planning the project right now. Our principal focus at this point is where exactly to relocate the pipe outside the landfill. There's a number of options, and we're focusing on those right now. And then related to that is, in order not to disrupt water service to the customer base, we'll have to figure out actually how you tie into the existing main while maintaining service, and that's what we call our implementation strategies. And so that's number 2 on this slide, what we'll be evaluating that next in detail. Right now we're focusing on the actual route for the new relocated main. So for the relocation around the closed G&H industrial landfill, we looked at 20 different segments, and we combined those into 9, we call them holistic alternatives for an actual route, and we narrowed that down to 3, our top 3 routes that we're evaluating in detail. We're conducting these evaluations in close concert with our customers, and we're also coordinating with utilities through SEMCOG. But here's a close-up shot of the area. You can see the G&H industrial landfill, surrounded by the green line. The dashed line is running the north-south direction. Again, north is to the left side of the page, is the existing 96-inch transmission main. So you can see it basically goes through the landfill in its western edge or side, and then continuing south and connecting in at Hamlin Road into DeQuinder. And we also, you'll see another dashed line which runs east-west, or up and down on your page. That's just indicating the OMID interceptor sewer. We'll have to contend with that on the project. And then all the letters A through T are basically the 20 different segments that we looked at, the pros and cons of each, in order to basically develop the route alternatives. So what this slide indicates in the red is one of our alternatives that we narrowed it down to as a promising alternative. Basically, running down 24 Mile Road is segment A, and then to C through down to T is all DeQuinder Road. That's a route. And then another route that we like is very closely related to the first, with the exception of staying away from 24 Mile Road. Basically going down segment B, which is the Macomb Orchard Trail, and then tying back in at C or into DeQuinder Road, and then moving south towards Hamlin Road. And then our third contending alternative is basically what you see in I. It's kind of a dash. You see some black dots there with the blue line. That's the existing 96-inch main, and we would end up slip lining that with new pipe inside of it, and then installing new main where you see IKMPQST going through that wooded area beneath the Clinton River around M, and then tying into our existing, or then running new main down ST, and then connecting into our existing main at Hamlin and DeQuinder Road. So mentioned earlier, right now we're evaluating our strategy to connect to, next big step is evaluating our strategy to connect to the existing main while maintaining service. And we're working again with our customers and DPW directors and the different people responsible for their water systems in each city in these areas to work on the route, not only the route, but the implementation strategy. And ongoing efforts, we're working with SEMCOG also. They're helping us reach out to other utilities, DTE, consumers, AT&T, road commissions, both Oakland County and Macomb County side, going down to Quinder Road, and working with other entities like the Trail Commission along the Macomb Orchard Trail to basically try to find out if there's other infrastructure projects that may be going on at the same time that we would conduct this work, so that we could, basically collaborate with other utilities to try to, kill multiple birds with one stone. And then we have a workshop. We met with utilities a couple weeks ago, other utilities, and had those discussions. Those are ongoing. And then we have a workshop with our customers beginning of November to talk more about this route, what we're going to actually pick, and then discuss further implementation strategies. That's the end of the presentation.
Great. I have a few commissioners on the list, but I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
Thank you, Grant. You kind of answered my first one. I was asking the Jim Carabelli question, but him and Rob Mijak are at a SEMCOG event today, so they couldn't be here. But
Okay.
the simultaneous project thing, I know that we've been trying to stress that, it drives everybody nuts when you see someone get torn up, put back together, and 2 years later it gets torn up for something completely different in the same area. So how's that going with you? Finding out any other projects similarly situated along any of these routes?
We're having the discussions. I can tell you nothing specific has come up yet.
Good. Well, at
But
least,
we had a very productive meeting with, we had Oakland County Road there, Macomb County planning for roads. Roads is a big deal. We had AT&T there. They have a major fiber optic line that actually goes down the Macomb Orchard Trail. So we had good discussion there. But nothing has come up yet where it was concretely said, yes, we're going to do a project at the same time, or what I'm really concerned about is, does somebody have a project that's going to be just maybe 6 months or a year after ours? Well, we'd want to see if we would shift ours back, or they move theirs forward.
Sure.
So still looking for those opportunities if they exist.
okay, and then I noticed your third alternative with the slip lining and the going
Yeah.
through the woods seemed to be a lot shorter route for the pipe. Is that a cost savings on that? Is that something you guys are looking at besides, or is there more work because you're coming through the woods and that kind of makes up for it, or is that all the different?
Yeah, excellent question. So this ends up on a cost basis. These three alternatives, and even when you looked at the other segments, they're all definitely in the same ballpark. There's not a lot of variance there. The slip lining is not cheap. It's very expensive. And then the work down through the wooded area there's a conservation easement. There's wetlands to contend with. The construction, dewatering, and tunneling would be more complicated back there. So although you avoid road work there's some other things that then also drive up costs. So on the balance, as far as cost is concerned, they're kind of equal. One of the disadvantages that we see on this one is the timeline to actually implement this. So if our goal is to execute this job as quickly as possible, because we want to get the pipe out of the landfill. So what we're afraid of with this alternative is wetlands, permitting issues, other issues that could slow us down from an environmental standpoint. So that's one thing. The other thing is, as far as operation and maintenance is concerned of our pipe,
Right.
now we have small valves, we call them blow-off valves. We have air release valves on these mains that we have to maintain and check. And when they're in back wooded areas like this and in people's backyards, that segment just north of I runs through basically backyards. So when we have to get to it, it's just very cumbersome.
Got it.
And so it's easier for us to get it out into the right of way from that standpoint.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
No problem.
So we have Commissioner Drollet first on the list, so here you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I may have missed this, but I'm not sure exactly why it has to be relocated. It goes through a landfill, but it appears to have been going through a landfill for I don't know how long. Is the pipe deteriorating? Is there some health reason why it has to be changed now?
Good question. You're right. It's been there a long time. This pipe has been there roughly since 1967 is about when it was placed into service. It does go through a landfill. There have been no problems. It doesn't place any immediate threat to public health. But it's just not, it's not what we do. It's not best practice to have a finished water main in a landfill. We've been assured by EPA and others that it's okay, but you know, the pipe isn't getting younger. So, you know, this pipe now is 50 years old. Depending on who you talk to, it could have another 10 years life on it or another 50 years life. In either case, it's going to expire at some time, and you're going to have to get it out of there. And I don't want it to break or have a leak when it's in the landfill. So it's pressurized now, and that's what makes it very safe.
So it's more precautionary then?
Very precautionary, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
The other thing that, and Bill Wolfson, Chief Administrative and Compliance Officer, is you think about a main typically has a 66-year lifespan. You use that for planning, so we're a little ahead, but we also think that we can get more benefit to our customers with a greater ability to isolate problems should they occur.
A quick follow-up, if I may. If that pipe has been there since the 60s and hasn't presented a problem, is it a some sort of a cost savings with very, very little to no risk if you just replace the pipe that goes to a landfill with a new pipe that goes to a landfill?
You mean, you said keep it there?
No, rip it out and put a new one in exactly where that one was. Now you got 60 more years of pipe without having to get all the right of way.
We can't, the implementation to keep the main, so the problem is one of the challenges with this project is if you go back to that vicinity map, is we don't have a lot of isolate. Right now, we have 2 isolation valves on this main. So one's in Romeo, and the other one is our North Service Center. So in order to just take this pipe out of service, we can't do that. We have to do it in a way, we have to basically install another main around it and tie it in at a location where we can continue service to people. We just can't take this out of service to water it. I mean, Washington Township, Shelby Township would be without water.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Drollet. Next on the list is Commissioner Duche.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Interesting. Where's the Detroit Sportsman's Gun Club? Because you mentioned it here, but it's not shown on any of this.
It's over here.
It's over where?
On
Okay.
Quinder, north of Auburn Road.
Wish I had a pointer. It's south. It's south of the G&H landfill. See where it says south tie-in point at Hamlin to Quinder Road, that rectangle?
Yeah,
And then the text where it says existing OMID 96 sewer interceptor.
right?
It's in that area.
Okay,
It's just south of there where that dashed line is.
all right. I don't know why you'd want to go, why you need to go around there, but okay. Yeah, too much lead. What depth are you going to with this main?
Yeah, these mains are typically 10 feet deep.
You got to the top of the 96
Yeah,
inch?
yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And last but not least, what kind of pressures are you talking about in this?
This reach or main usually sees around 100 psi, 90 to 100.
That's pretty serious. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Duche. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Grant. Nice presentation. As you know, we had this problem over here with the sinkhole in Fraser. And what they had done was on the existing pipe, they had sleeved it, put in a sleeve. Now, why can't that be done with the same pipe we have now at a tremendous cost saving in lieu of making all these going in around and just sticking a sleeve in there that would probably last another whatever time that the consultant said?
Yeah, that's our third option, top option, where we would sleeve a portion of this reach. And like it's not as cheap as you think. It's expensive to slip line these pipes. This
So-
size. It's not inexpensive.
There's no interruption of service when you're sleeving it, am I correct?
There's yeah, well, we have to, there's a sister project to this, which involves other infrastructure, other pipeline, other valving, in order to take this segment out of service.
Have you done a
Okay.
comparison study of what would be cheaper to do, sleeve or do the new piping on that same point? So this new alternative routes are going to completely bypass the landfill, is that correct?
Yes.
So what is the normal length of the longest pipe that you use without having breakpoints where you connect them together so that if there was a leakage, that's where it may happen?
If it's steel pipe, 20 feet.
20
And
feet?
if it's our PCC pipe, our pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe, it's around 10 feet.
10
But
feet.
20 feet would be a nominal length, and we'd probably be looking at something like steel on this.
I think it'd be very interesting to see what it would cost adverse to doing a sleeve to the actual piping itself and going around all this place here that you're talking about. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Rand.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sauger.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what's the distance of this 96-inch pipe from where it starts to where it ends?
It goes from the DeQuinder and M59.
It starts there,
That's where it starts, and it goes north to Imlay City.
Imlay City?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's it? Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other commissioners on the list. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your presentation. Commissioners, we already have a motion to receive and file, so please vote. Okay. Motion passes. Moving to item number 9, Government Operations Committee recommendations. 9A is the Board of Canvassers. We have 2 vacancies. Do we have any, Commissioner Leonetti, you like to make a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move to appoint Barbara Van Sykel and Michelle DeBozart. They're unopposed, so.
Great. Supported by Commissioner Brown. Any discussion on this issue? All right. We have a motion to support Barbara and Michelle. Please vote. Okay, motion passes 13, well, not 13 to 0, 11 to 0. 9B, we have 1 vacancy for the Human Services Board. We have Reverend Ralph Brown, who was here the other day. It does not look like we have Robert Fulner here to speak to this, so since we only have 1, let's start with Reverend Ralph Brown and maybe make a motion to appoint Reverend Ralph Brown. Commissioner Brown? Yeah. Commissioner Lucido supports that. Is any discussion on this? If not, I have a quick discussion. I met with Reverend Brown, and we had a lengthy discussion. I think he's well qualified for this position, and I would highly recommend his appointment. If he does not make this, we'll go to the next gentleman and see where he stands on this. So right now, the motion is to appoint Reverend Ralph Brown. If you please vote. Good. All right, Reverend Ralph Brown is unanimously approved as the new member of the HHS Board. I will let him know after this. Thank you. Item 10, Finance Committee recommendation. Anybody would like to make a recommendation that we do these in their entirety? Moved by Commissioner Kleinfeld, supported by Commissioner Drollet. Any discussion on any of these? If not, please vote. Motion passes. Item number 11, resolution. Resolution in support of Michigan Senate Bill 400 and Michigan House Bill 4651, amending the Emergency Telephone Services Enabling Act. I know we have Sheriff Wickersham and Emergency Manager Vicki Walberg here. Would you please come up and give us, I know we had a lot of questions on this the other day that Gary from GCSI couldn't answer. If you would give us kind of a quick overview, and I'll tell you where what is the infrastructure that it covers. That was one of the questions, and just a general overview.
Sure,
That'd be great.
Good afternoon,
Thank you,
Commissioners.
Sheriff.
I'll just give you a quick overview. I know there's a lot of nuts and bolts, and I think Vicki's going to have some more of those more specific operation and infrastructure type answers. But we are here in front of you asking this board for a support of Senate Bill 400 and House Bill 4651. Not here just as the sheriff and the sheriff's office. We're here for all law enforcement, fire, and EMS providers here in Macomb County. We are also, in this resolution, we're asking the board to oppose any amendments amending 4651 or Senate Bill 400 to include any additional state of Michigan taxes on telephone services customers under the guise of the 911 surcharge. So with this legislation, if there's an increase, we want to make sure it's going to 911 services. Some of the highlights here, if you've probably done your research, commissioners, but it increases the state 911 fee from 19 cents to 25 cents. And the information we're getting out of Lansing is that reflects actual costs to operate, maintain, and upgrade the 911 systems throughout the state. It makes an adjustment of money collected by retailers, or percentage of by retailers, from 1.92% to 4.19%. They're trying to get after the prepaid phones that aren't being assessed this fee currently. It increases the County Board of Commissioners' ability to levy a fee from 42 cents to 55 cents. And if you're not aware, we are one of 13 counties in the state of Michigan that do not levy a fee for 911. And it provides the state 911 committee to take legal action for those carriers that won't pay the bills. I think with that, we can open it up to questions and get a little bit more specific, if that's right with you.
Commissioner Drollet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for that presentation. I appreciate the summary and the concept and so forth, and I'm generally favorable toward that. But one of the reasons I sometimes have concerns about resolutions on legislative bills is because of the fact that they oftentimes change. And I texted a friend of mine in the legislature. He said a substitute was just introduced today, which obviously we haven't seen. So that's some of my concern, that we're not sure what the final bill is exactly going to look like, and yet, on paper, we're committing ourselves to it. I don't think that's a question as much as it is just an expression of concern.
I would agree with you. We met earlier, and we were waiting for that information. Again, I guess I should have probably spoke as it is currently introduced, and again, if there's something to change. But, I do agree with you until you see it.
Yeah, it makes it sometimes difficult because. Right. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. That thought.
Commissioner Drollet, I would just point out that farther down the document, it does say that we would support the House Bill 4651 and Senate Bill 400 as introduced. So that's the third, therefore, well, be it resolved, then therefore from the bottom. So it does speak to that. At least you could go on the fact that we're looking at the original introduction of the bill is what we're supporting.
Oh, as I see it as introduced.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. And I know we've tried to cover potential amendments with that.
Yes.
Secondary part, but you just never know how these things weave their way through.
Yes.
All right, thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
I'm just curious, the fact that we don't levy and other counties do, is that related to before recently anyway, cities handled their own and townships, they handled their own 911 systems. Maybe not up here, but at least down on the south end. I'm not sure about up here, but is that why? Do they get the money from?
It's just yeah, go ahead, Vicki.
Sorry, with the 19 cents that comes into the county from the state, or our portion of that, we collect approximately 1.3 million. And that gets divided up based on population to the other PSAPs in the county. So this is not just a county sheriff's office dispatch fund. It goes to the other PSAPs. I believe there's a total of 10 in the county.
So the 911 fee that we don't levy, that other counties levy, would be dispersed throughout the county?
Correct, right.
Okay.
That would happen basically the same way based on population.
And
okay.
To answer your question, Commissioner, I can't really address that. It may have been a board decision or may never ever been brought forward. But again, we're one of the 13 counties that don't charge, and we're the only county in southeast Michigan that doesn't.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers on the board. I'd like to have a motion to adopt. If we have a motion by Commissioner Lucido, supported by Commissioner Leonetti. Already had discussion. Please vote on item number 12, or 11. Oh, well, go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm gonna ask the sheriff a couple of questions other than this here.
After this,
Right now, or,
let's finish the vote right now.
Okay.
Since we're already in the midst of it. We're waiting on who? Commissioner, waiting on who? Marv, hey, Marv. All right, thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
So we'll let a little leeway here, and we'll go to 11B. Marv.
yeah, Sheriff, what I'd like to know is how did the deal at Cabela's, when you had the grand opening, you had a county deal for people for the correctionals, or for the department?
Yep.
How did that ever go for you?
Cabela's went well. We've also done 2 in-house open houses where we did some recruiting right here, right at our offices, and I'm happy to report we're getting some quality candidates, and we're getting applications. So
Okay,
things are
there's
starting to look up.
2 other comments I got. I get tired of seeing TV when something major happens in a community, wherever it might be in the county. Well, what the heck do? They say, call your local police department. They quit giving the phone number of the sheriff's, 5151 or wherever. You know, I'd like to see sometime when you have your sheriff's meeting, to bring that up with them, because some of the older people don't know what the hell the number is, and they may have some information about it. They just say, call your local police department.
We'll make sure they start
Okay,
adding phone
and the
numbers.
third thing is,
All right.
We're to item
911 would've
11B.
worked great.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, this won't take long. You know, periodically, something happens at the department with some employee. The newspapers get it however they want, they blow it up until they get all the facts and everything. That happens, has been happening for years. Some of the major things that have happened at your police department, the sheriff's office, while you've been sheriff, that these guys did something over and above what they normally do, and you pat them on the back, and that's fine. I think the board ought to know about some of these, so they don't have to have this negative feeling sometimes. Why isn't this guy disciplined, or why isn't that guy? There is some great police work over there, and when it happens, I'd like to see you bring it up to the board.
We can do that.
Thanks,
With that,
Marv.
I'll shut up and you're on your way.
Marv, I can go with number 4.
Thank you, Marv. Item number 12, proclamation commemorating, thank you, Sheriff, I'm sorry, thank you, Vicky, thank you, Sheriff. We already voted on that. Oh, no, I'm sorry, what's that, we didn't vote on? The proclamation. Yes, right, so proclamation commemorating the Basilian Order of St. Basil the Great on their 400th anniversary. We have a motion to approve by Duge, supported by Drolet. Any comments on this, Marv? Nope. Did you know? All right, please vote. All right, item passes. Item number.
Thank you to all my fellow commissioners on this.
Thank you. Item number 13, new business. Any commissioners with new business? Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's only right and just that you should congratulate Mr. and Mrs. Romano that today is their 49th wedding anniversary.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you, Board.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
This is probably the last meeting. I called Patty about the possibility of changing the evening meeting in November, because we have Deck the Halls in East Point and Roseville. It's the biggest event of the year. You're looking at me like you didn't know.
No, I do know about it. I'll talk to you about it. I don't generally have a problem with that. We'll send it out and make sure that everybody else
Well, that's what
wins, so.
if nobody has a problem, I just, the tickets are selling fast, and we're not gonna meet. We're looking at another meeting, but we didn't have anything planned, so I was a little worried that we weren't gonna get a decision made one way or the other. I told her, I'd try to let her know tonight, but,
We can,
it's November 9th, and I'm just hoping to move it to 3.
that's the budget meeting, the public hearing.
Yeah, nobody ever comes to that.
It is a budget. Well, we have 18 hours, I think, to redo a meeting.
Right, we have to post it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 3 weeks away.
Well,
But it may be possible.
Okay. If we can't, just as long as we could find out as soon as possible.
I will work on it today and tomorrow, but, I mean, we'll know. I don't see a problem with it. I'm gonna look into it a little bit and see, what's necessary for, and we have our corporation counsel here. Do you have any word on whether we could change that public hearing at this point in time? It's a November 9th meeting. We have some time, obviously. I don't know the exact time frame to change a public hearing, but I'm sure we have plenty of time to do something like that if we
Well,
choose.
the only time constraint is that you posted under the OMA.
Right.
And that's an 18-hour
18-hour.
posting
Okay.
notice, so you have plenty of time to do that.
All right.
Right, and we probably haven't posted
It
it
is
yet
public
anyway.
notice. Yes.
So we haven't posted it yet, so.
No.
Isn't posted yet. Does anybody have an
No,
issue
there's
with it being
nothing to
moved to?
push.
Hey, Commissioner Duje, anybody have a problem, an issue with it moving earlier? How about that? I can get at least a consensus, and then we'll talk about it after. but
Mr. Chairman, why
Yes.
don't we move it to after finance on the 8th and be done with it?
It might be a little longer. I mean, that's the budget. We're gonna be doing some budget stuff. I wanna leave that on its own for a meeting on that.
The 9th.
What's that?
Same date, just moving it from nighttime to 3 o'clock.
If there's some way to move it to the 8th,
All right. Okay, how about this? My question is, does anybody have a problem moving it earlier in the day to our normal 3 o'clock time? If so, please contact me
really.
after this. I'll work on this after this right now. But right now, I don't see any real problem with it. I just want to double check. Based on the fact we don't have any issues with it, time constraint, I think we could probably do something like that. We're gonna get to that. I haven't got a chance yet,
Oh,
Andre. So, anybody else with new business? If not, I have two items. Number one, I did mention it early, Commissioner Carabelli and Commissioner Myjack are at the SEMCOG General Assembly. The next meeting we have will be the request to excuse them. Also, this orange sheet on your desk is, I'm calling a special meeting next week to have Scott Smith come in and discuss some budgetary issues with us, some legalities of what what we go through on the budget, especially for the new commissioners. These are the dates Scott was available next week. There's 4 different dates and times. Please note that the Wednesday time is 9 a.m. So please look at your name and go across and give me a check if you're available on that day, because we're going to gather them all together and try to get the most consensus to have a special meeting next week. That being said, I am done with new business. Anybody else? No? Public participation? Anybody in the public wishing to speak? Please come up. You have 5 minutes. Give us your name and address. Mr. Hunt.
Joseph Hunt, 8306 Stanley, homeowner taxpayer from the city of Warren. With the Great Lakes Water Authority, I actually saw no compelling reason whatsoever to actually try to fix what's not broken. Perhaps the Great Lakes Water Authority has a lot of money. If I'm not mistaken, the county of Macomb is spending $14 million a year for a seat at the table. That's over $1 million a month. And I guess, does this Board of Commissioners actually communicate directly with the representative of Macomb County to find out what's going on at the Great Lakes Water Authority? I know that there's a website out there where they talk about meetings after the fact. A lot of it's abbreviated, but the presentation was just basically a waste of money, and they want to fix something that's not broken. And I don't see where all of a sudden, just because it's in the landfill, that they're all of a sudden to spend what we call taxpayer dollars. As yesterday's conversation was focused around the industrial development districts and industrial facilities exemption certificates, and Commissioner Drolet effectively called it corporate welfare. The issue comes down to is when you have a government agency, which I was against, this Great Lakes Water Authority, they're coming into Macomb and they're upsetting the balance of an existing effective system. At what cost to the taxpayers? And it really doesn't matter if all of a sudden it appears on the bill of somebody from the city of Warren, city of Sterling Heights, or any resident of Macomb County. It just seems to me that the moment that they come up with these plans to implement cost improvements for the future, if there's no benefit except to disrupt the normal operations, where is the benefit? So, like I say, who is the person who's on the seat of the Great Lakes Water Authority, and has that person ever spoke to you? On another issue, I know that this was last month. I love the YouTube videos that you put up on the website, so I don't have to come to these meetings, but there was a discussion where the Board of Commissioners was actually going to submit your updates to the Ethics Board Rules of Procedure. You know, in that charter, basically that went into effect January 1st of 2011, the issue does come down to is Chapter 2 was the actual Ethics Board. And the matter behind the ethics board is that I've been holding off on filing ethics complaints because the idea is that there is no rules of procedure to follow according to the charter. But like I said, I'd like to find out what a status is on that because, quite simply put, I feel that the ethics board in its recent verdicts, it's monkey court. And the idea behind monkey court is you're the ones that approve the rules of procedure before monkey court takes place. Like I say, I have a backlog of about anywhere between a dozen to 18 different ethics complaints that I'd like to file with bona fide evidence. And we're talking about due process rights there. But if this board all of a sudden is in charge of all of a sudden going through and updating the rules of procedures to conform with due process rights under law, perhaps we can get an update when that's going to occur. Because like I say, I have a backlog of ethics complaints. Most are from the Office of County Executive. And like I said, I'd like to get those into the system and at the same time, well-documented ethics complaint, bona fide complaints, and not the BS that Karen's had to actually encounter. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members from the public wishing to speak? Please come up, give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Hello.
My name is Elizabeth Larry. I reside at 23729 Lansdowne in Clinton Township, Michigan. I am here to make a statement on employee wages. I am a 20-year employee, a friend of the court. Over the last 10 years, my income has basically been at a standstill. During the recession, I participated in the concessions to get the county through the lean times with the hopes that we would be rewarded at the end. And then, when finally getting back to just our 100% of our former wage, we are finally granted a measly 1% raise, less than the rate of inflation, so we cannot even keep up. Granted, the county waives the $500 or $1,000 signing bonus carrot in front of our union membership to settle our contracts and considers that our raise. However, that does nothing to help increase the amount of my pension, which is based on my contract salary, which, as you all know, increases only at a rate of 1% per year. The low wages used to be enough to keep good employees somewhat happy because of the luxury of having a pension was our reward for accepting that lower pay scale. Now the new employees don't even have that anymore. I've been a single parent for the past 5 years and have had to also work a second job just to make my bills. It's definitely frustrating to come to work every day, work hard and conscientiously, excuse me, only to have to seek out secondary employment to pay for my son's extracurricular activities, driver's training, or graduation expenses, never mind their college. Then to read in the newspaper about the extravagant raises our administrators receive is definitely a hit to my morale and the morale of my fellow employees. We as employees work hard for you and deserve to be compensated for our sacrifices and hard work over the years. Just negotiate fair with us, please. Would you stay if your raise was only 1%? I think not. But then again, you don't have to worry about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Going once? Going twice? Ma'am, anybody can speak up here. Yes.
Sure.
Please give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
I'm Zara Mayo. I live at 50 Colonial Road, Grosse Pointe Shores, Michigan. I'm a 31-year employee. I'm sorry for my tears, but I have worked with this woman for 12 years, and I know how hard she has struggled, and her voice is not the only voice of the county employees. I can only speak to the referees, and I thought one of my colleagues would be here with her statistics. I don't have them. She has them. She is the former president of the Referees Association of Michigan. Rather than repeat what Elizabeth Larry said, I just want you to consider this. There is a $20,000 gap between the referees in Macomb County and the referees in Wayne, Oakland, St. Clair, and you name it, any other county in this state. We are considered the lowest paid throughout the state. The new employees coming in, they don't have a pension. Their health care is being cut into. I can tell you that the professionals on our staff are looking for other jobs. After this 1% raise that we received, when we heard that Executive Hackle got 38%, Eric Smith got 33%, I forget what the percentage was for Wickersham, it was destroyed. Destroyed. We worked with the county. We don't feel that the county negotiated in good faith. We're told you're never going to get any more. And those of us who are in the final stage towards retirement, we're staying. Your good employees are looking to go elsewhere, and you're not going to recruit the quality employees that you were able to in the past. I've never seen anything like this, a 1% raise after 11 years when we took wage concessions, we came to work without pay. It's just shameful. And this opportunity was presented to us to speak in front of the board. I don't know what good it would do. I'm not even a resident of yours. But I will tell you this, in the past, I used to encourage people to apply for employment in Macomb. I can't. And my morale is in the gutter. It is in the gutter, and I don't speak alone. And if you're interested in statistics about other employees, they have them for you. But we are the lowest paid. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Going once, twice, closing public participation. Roll call. And we need a motion to adjourn by Dugier, supported by Drolet. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Ah, whatever.